Today I'm going to go over your review with you for your test on Wednesday. The first one says fill in the blanks with the information about the parent function. In case you forgot, the parent function is the most basic form of a line. It's going to be the simplest line that we can, well, let's see if I can spell. Sorry, y'all. The most basic form of the line, the simplest line we can write, okay? So the parent function has a slope of 1. That's 1 over 1 or 1, and it has a y-intercept of 0. It always goes through the origin, okay? And the equation is either y equals x, or sometimes you'll see it f of x equals x, and that is going to be the same thing, right? So that's the same thing as writing y equals 1x plus 0. Remember, we really don't need that plus 0. We really don't have to put the 1x. So the way to write that simplest is y equals x. Okay. Number 2 says a graph shows two linear equations. The first equation is f of x equals x, and the second one is g of x equals f of x plus 5. Describe the difference, right? So the difference is going to be that plus 5. And if you remember, anytime we have a plus 5 at the end of our parent function, it's going to cause a vertical shift. Pluses cause vertical shifts up, minuses are shifts down. So this would be a vertical shift. And then it would be up 5 since we have that plus 5. Okay. Over here it says graph the linear parent function. So just as we talked about before, we have the 0, 0. It goes to the origin and it goes up 1 over 1 on every single box, down 1 to the left 1. Okay. So that is going to be our parent function. And then it's going to ask us to graph another line. Okay. So it says graph a new line that's reflected over the x-axis, is steeper by a factor of 3, and was translated down 5 units. Okay. So reflected over the x-axis means that our new slope is negative, and then this steeper means that our new slope is also 3. So we have a new slope, a new m value of -3. Okay. And then our b value is going to be this shift. So this shifted down 5 units means that our new b value is going to be -5. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that -5 on the graph, and then we can just continue the line with our -3. So I'm going to go up 3 to the left 3, up 3, left 3, and that is going to be my new line. Okay. All right, and then it says, what is the equation of the new line? So my equation is going to be y equals, and then I'm going to put in my new m. My new m is -3, so I can go ahead and put that in here, -3, and then I'm going to have my x minus 5, since my new b value is -5. Okay, now I'm going to go down a little bit. And I'm looking at this graph over here for number 4. And it says, what is the slope of the line? Remember, in order to find the slope, we have to identify 2 perfect points, okay? 2 perfect points. And my perfect points on this graph, I can see one that is crossing the y-axis, okay? So my first one that I can see is right here. That is at -4. And then the second one that I can see is going to be right here, it looks like. Okay, so in order to find the slope, I'm going to have to do the change in y, which is -2, over the change in x, which is 3. So my slope is -2 over 3. Okay, the y-intercept is right here, so that's going to be -4. And so when I plug these in, it's just asking me to plug those in. So I have y equals -2/3 x minus 4. Okay. Now looking at number 5, it says, what is the slope for the inequality? Okay, so this is a little different, and this is completely my fault, so don't be mad at your math teacher. It was definitely Miss Nelson. And so this is counting by twos on, or excuse me, by 1/2. So you can see this point right here, you see how it's halfway in between 0 and -2? This is 0, -1. okay? And then here is actually our next point, and that is at 1, 1, okay? So we're going to use those 2 points to find our slope. I promise it's not going to be like that on your test. Miss Ader found really clear, beautiful graphs for your test, so sorry that this one on the review is a little wonky. All right, I'm going to need to go up 2 and over 1 because from -1 up to here, that's a +2, okay? So my slope is 2, and then it says, what's the y-intercept? And I see that right here at this -1 point, so it's going to be -1. And then it says, what symbol am I going to use? Remember, when we are shading above or below, okay, we have greater than or equal to, a greater than, less than or equal to, less than. And these two lines are solid, and these two are dashed. So if you look closely, you can tell that this is a dashed line, right? And it is shaded above. So since it's dashed and it's shaded above, it's going to be this symbol that we're going to select, okay? So I would have y is greater than 2x minus 1, okay? Now, number 6 is getting us started. It just asks you, what is the formula? So what is the formula to find the slope between 2 points? That is going to be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, and then it says, okay, well, what's the slope between these two? So I'm just going to go ahead and label these. This is my first point. So I have my x1, y1. Then my second point is going to be x2, y2. Okay, so when I plug those in, I'm going to have -1 minus 5 over, and then my x2 is 6 minus 2. Okay, so you can just go ahead and put that in your calculator. If you have your Inspire, you'll push Control Divide. If you're at home, then you would want to use Desmos. Okay, and we have talked about this several times, but we are just going to go to the fraction button in Desmos right here, and then go ahead and put those numbers in. So -1 minus 5. So I'll go to the top, -1 minus 5, and then on the bottom, I think it was 6 minus 2. And then we'll press enter, and we want that to be a fraction, so we're going to push the fraction button. And you can see that's -3 over 2 is our slope, okay? So I'll come over here, it is -3 over 2, okay? So when it asks us what is the point slope form of this equation, don't forget point slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, okay? And we have our x1 and our y1 because we found those in our first point. So we already have our x1 and our y1, and then we just now did the work to find our slope, right? That equaled -3 over 2, and that's what we're going to have for our m, all right? So we can go ahead now and just substitute those values in. Y minus 5 equals -3 over 2 times x minus 2. And don't forget, if you do end up having a negative number, a minus a negative simplifies to a plus, okay? So just in case you forget about that, all right? Now we're going to look at number 7. It says parallel lines have circle 1, the same slope or the opposite reciprocal, okay? And they have the same, parallel lines have the same slope, right? And then it says, write an equation that's parallel to y equals 3 over 4x minus 3 with a y-intercept of 3, okay? So to write the equation, we need the m and we need the b of that line, okay? The m is going to match this line exactly because parallel lines have the same slope. So I know my m is going to have to be 3 over 4. My b they gave me, okay, the y-intercept of 3, so my b is going to equal 3. So when I go to substitute that in, I have y equals 3 over 4x and then plus 3. Okay, now let's look at the next one. It says perpendicular lines have which of the following? Same slopes or opposite reciprocal? They are going to have opposite reciprocals. Okay, so opposite means we flip our sign. Reciprocal means we flip our fraction. Okay, so we're going to flip the sign and we're going to flip the fraction. So if we have a slope of positive 3 over 4, our new slope for our perpendicular line is going to be negative 4 over 3. Okay, it changed from a positive to a negative, and we flipped our fraction upside down. The b value they actually give us in the problem, and it has a b value of negative 4. So when we come over here, we are going to sub those in. Y equals negative 4 over 3x minus 4. Okay, so that's our perpendicular line. Number 9 asks us to draw slope man or label Hooyvux. Okay, the slope man is going to have a positive eye. He has a negative eye. He has an undefined nose with a little X nose piercing. And he has a zero slope mouth with his little Y tongue sticking out. Okay, if your teacher has taught you more about Hooyvux, so you know that H is for horizontal. The O is for zero slope. And the Y is for Y equals, because that's for the equation, right? And then the Vux part, the V is for vertical. The U is for undefined. That's the kind of slope that vertical lines have, is undefined. And then X is for X equals. And that's how you write the equation. So these match each other. These complement. Some teachers prefer to use slope man. Some prefer to use Hooyvux, but this is the same information, right? So it's asking us if the line has zero slope. So in our slope man, that would mean that we're looking at his mouth, right? His mouth has zero slope, or we would be looking at the Hoy part of the Hooyvux. Okay, so we know that these slopes are zero and that they are horizontal. And then the important part is the equation. So the equation is y equals. That's the part that we need to be looking at. Okay, so we know it's going to be y equals, and then we have to look at the point they gave us. We have a negative 1 comma 5. So what does y equals? Well, remember, points are always x comma y. So our y equals 5. Okay. Number 10 asks us to convert the standard form into slope-intercept form. So given this equation, I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Then I'm going to have negative 5y equals negative 4x plus 10. Then I'm going to divide everything by negative 5. Okay? Negative 5y divided by negative 5 is positive 1y. Negative 4 divided by negative 5 is positive 4 over 5x. And then 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. Okay? So this is our answer that's converted into slope-intercept form. If we look over here, it asks us to graph the following system. We can see, okay, y is not by itself, but it gives us a little hint. Oh, that's the one that we already converted. Okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to graph this one in, let's say, pink. That way you know the difference between the two lines. So my M is 4 over 5. My B is negative 2. I'm going to put that negative 2 on the graph first. Positive 4 over 5 means up 4, left 5. And it looks like, oh, I can do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is my line. I'm going to go ahead and connect these dots. Okay, and then I have my other line here, which I'm going to do in purple. And I can see, okay, my slope of this line is negative 1 and my b value is 6. Okay, so I'm going to make my line here at 6, and then I'm going to go ahead and go down 1 over 1. Okay, so there I have my two equations, and my solution would be this point. This point right here is kind of hard to see. It's going to be a little bit in the middle. That is going to be your solution. On your test, that's going to be an exactly perfect point right there. Okay, this one is a little in the middle of the boxes, but whatever this x comma y solution is on your test, it's going to be a perfect point right there in the middle. Okay. Here it asks us to draw a system with one solution. This does not have to be exact. This is just asking you how these look, okay? So if we have a line that looks like this, and then we have a line that looks like this, I say, okay, This one has one solution because these lines cross one time. So even though that's not at a perfect point, one solution is just two lines that cross perfectly at one spot. Okay, no solutions, that means that these lines have to be parallel. Okay, they are going to be going up at the same exact slope. They have to have the same slope. And if they have the same slope and they're parallel, then they will never touch, which gives us no solution. Then infinite solutions is a little different. Remember, infinite means that the lines actually end up being the exact same line on top of each other, okay? So if it is infinite, then that means that they are always touching because at every single spot there's a possible solution. Okay, then let's go down here to number 13. It asks us to graph these two systems. Okay, so the first one has a slope of 1 and a b value of -1. So let me just get that -1 on the graph, and then my slope is going to go up 1 over 1. Okay, down to the left like this. Now remember, okay, if I have my above and below, and then my solid and my dashed, this is going to help me know, okay, how to shade my graph. Okay, so this symbol right here, I can see that's shaded above and it is a dashed line, which is important because I need to know that before I go ahead and do this. So I need to, oops, sorry. I need to go ahead and dash this in right here. Okay, now since it's shaded above, I'm just going to do some hash marks in my pink above here so I can see that is going to be my solution, like that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and graph my second graph. I'm going to do it in blue this time. So here I can see, okay, my slope is -2 and my b is +1. So I'm going to make my dot up here. -2, I'm going to go down to the right one or up to left one. Now this one is going to be a less than sign. So I'm going to have a dashed line still, but it's going to be shaded below. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to shade everything below my b value, which is here. Okay, so as you can see, this whole area on the side, that is my double solution set. So that's where my solution is going to come from. So let's check to see it has a few points for us. -2, -2. Okay, is that in the solution set? And the answer is yes, because that is in my double shaded area. Okay, and then I have another one that is 2, 1. And for this one, it's only in the pink shaded area, but also, so the answer is no, but also you have to remember, if it is on a dash line, if the point is on a dash line, so any point on this purple line or pink line, any line on the blue, they are not going to be part of the solution because on top of the dashed is not included, okay? It is not included, it's not gonna be part of the solution. And then we get to our last problem. It says evening tickets for the movie theater will cost $10.50 and afternoon matinee tickets cost $5.50. One day the movie theater made $8,380 and they sold 960 tickets. Set up two equations with this info. Okay, so when it asks you to set it up or to find something, that's going to tell us what our variables is. Okay, so we're looking for how many of each type of ticket were sold. So the X and the Y are going to tell us the two types, right? The X is going to be evening tickets. And then the Y is going to be matinee tickets, or you could put afternoon, it doesn't matter. Okay? The first equation is going to be dealing with just the total tickets, right? So they sold 960. So if we have evening tickets and matinee tickets, we know that those have to add up to equal the total 960. So we're going to write that X plus Y equals 960. Okay? Equation number 2 is going to deal with the money, right? How much do evening tickets cost? Well, they cost $10.50. So let's say 10.50x plus how much do the matinee tickets cost? Only $5.50. So we'll say plus $5.50y equal, and then that's going to equal the total that they made. So they made 8,380 tickets that day. And those are going to be my two equations. We don't have to solve these. You just need to write the two equations. If you have any further questions or anything that you're still confused about for your test review, please reach out to your Algebra 1 teacher.